Of course, the situation in Victoria has deteriorated very, very substantially. And this week, the Premier announced that the Victorian target was being moved to a vaccination target rather than a zero cases target. It looks like Victoria and New South Wales are on track for 80% vaccination by the end of October. So Victoria to be effectively locked down until the end of October, along the lines of our New South Wales forecast. That means that Victoria in the September quarter is likely to contract by about 5.7%. compared to the 8.3% for New South Wales. We've also lowered our forecast for the pace of recovery in the December quarter. With the surge in cases in New South Wales and Victoria, when we do get the reopening, we expect that governments will be cautious because of the concerns about pressure on the hospital system. It's also likely that individuals will be cautious to go back to their original spending patterns that we saw in the rebound in the second half of last year. We also don't expect Queensland and Western Australia to reach their 80% targets until well into December, and therefore likely that both those borders, the Queensland border, Western Australian border, will be closed for the rest of this year. Unfortunately, what that suggests to us is that whereas we thought growth over the whole of 2021 was going to be 2.2%, we're now looking at zero. What does that mean for the unemployment rate? With the recovery being so much more muted, the unemployment rate by the end of the year is at 5.4% rather than the 4.9% we had before. But it's not all bad news. Something that gives me a lot of comfort are the surveys that we've seen in our consumer sentiment survey and elsewhere, indicating that resistance to vaccination in Australia is only at about 10% of the population. That compares with well over 20% in the US. So I think that as the benefits of being vaccinated really starts to resonate with the Australian population through to the end of this year into next year, we've got a very good chance of getting our vaccination rates up to about 90%. And that'll restore Australia to being one of the countries that's dealt best with the virus, as we were in 2020.